Welcome to this short session where I want to give you a motivation for which purposes we need the four approaches we're going to discuss in more detail in the context of financial business mathematics. Here we have the first part, which is more or less on interest calculations, or in particular working with compound interests. In this case, it's usually about a one-time investment. And there's like two possible applications. You're interested in determining what is the present value of an investment or the final value of this investment. Or you might even have the initial and the final value. So you invested some money, like 5 years later, you know what your investment is worth, and you want to know what like the internal rate of return of this investment was. So what would have been the interest if you got the same result in a bank? That's like the internal rate of return. Those are the questions which you could ask in the context of this compound interest calculation. As I said, here, however, it's always about a one-off payment. If we consider something else like regular equally sized payments, so for example every month you save some money, then we're talking about savings plan, we're talking about pensions. And that's actually what we can do with this here. We can talk about monthly savings plans. So basically you realize a monthly savings plan, a yearly savings plan. Each month you save like 500 euros. What can you expect to have saved up in like 50 years? The other question, if you know what you have in 50 years, you can also ask a question, what would this savings be worth today? So for example, how much money would you have to invest today to get the same outcome? Or in other words, you might also get like a promise from your insurance company, and they tell you, well, we will pay you this pension and you have to pay us this much today. So you could ask the question, what's actually the present worth of such a kind of pension system? And can compare this with what happens if you save up on your own. So that's the second part. The third part, that's actually pretty similar to the second part. Again, we have regular equally sized payments, but the perspective is different. If we talk about amortization, this means you take up a credit, you take up a loan, and then you pay this back. And that's actually the difference in the amortization part. Here it's about the payback of a loan. You can also use this to make a decision, should I pay for something in cash, by, for example, getting a loan for the investment, or should I pay this in installments? Like if you buy a new mobile phone, you might have the decision, should I pay the whole costs for the mobile phone directly, maybe by getting a consumer credit to afford this money, or should I pay each month a certain additional fee to my mobile provider? Pay for this in installments. So which makes more sense, assuming certain interest rates to be paid? That's like the second part. Again, we have like equally sized regular payments. So the question could be, what if they are not regular, if they are not equally sized? Well, then we need to do this more or less step by step. And we're in the fourth part, which is on investment and company valuation, mostly on investment valuation. Here we talk about irregular, different sized paybacks or cash flow. So it could be positive, could be negative. This could be, as well, the name already says, you consider a company, want to know what's the current worth of this company, and you want to actually make future cash flows, future expected costs in some way graspable. Want to know what would the company, if you consider all those payments, all those cash flows, what would it be worth today? So what would be actually a good buying price for said company. And well, if you can do this for one company or for one investment, you can do this for multiple investments, for multiple options. So you can use this to compare which is actually the best option available to you, considering their costs, considering the turnovers. So this can be used not only for company valuation, but also for deciding between options. And well, options means considering different investment possibilities. So those are the 4 different types we're going to talk about when we focus on the part on business of financial mathematics.